Hey everyone, welcome to AMC Movie Talk for movie fans. I'm Chris Lee Kennedy, and this is the show we bring you the day's biggest movie news, and of course we give you insight into what it all means. Joining me as always is AMC's Editor-in-Chief, Mr. John Campea.
Woo! Greetings and salutations, everybody. Welcome to the best damn movie-related show on the planet Earth, coming to you live from right here at the Stream.TV studios here in Hollywood, California, and I'm happy to announce Lou Ferrigno is alive.
We also have joining us AMC's production manager, Mr. Dennison.
Well, I'm happy to announce that the LA Kings are one game away
from the Stanley Cup Finals.
Yes.
And we also have joining us the director of the upcoming film, The Death of Superman Lives. What happened? Mr. John Schnepp.
Once again, I have no idea what this sports stuff that Dennis is talking about, but I'm glad that hoax is fake.
The hoax.
All right, guys, back in January, Quentin Tarantino announced that he was canceling production on his upcoming Western film project, The Hateful Eight, due to an advance copy of the script being leaked. However, according to reports, Tarantino has changed his mind and the movie could go into production as early as November of this year. John, what do you think of Tarantino moving ahead with The Hateful Eight?
I remember back in, it was January 22nd, when the news came out that somebody had leaked his script and he was really pissed off about it and he was backing out, and we said, look, he's not overreacting. He has every right to feel betrayed, violated, upset, but it might have been a real overreaction to say, I'm not doing the movie. And I believe, Schnepp, you and I were on the show that day, and what we said was, we completely believe that cooler heads will prevail, that at some point Quentin Tarantino will step back and say, who am I really punishing here? Am I punishing these actors? Am I punishing this publicist? Or am I punishing the fans? And we both said that at some point he's going to step back, take a deep breath, and say, this is crazy. We need to make this movie. And lo and behold, here we are a few months later, and he's making this movie. I think this is great news. I really do. And I believe he said something a few months ago about, if I do this movie, I'm going to rewrite the ending so it's kind of a different story where I'm going to keep the core of what the story essentially is, but change the third act, blah, blah, blah. It sounds like he's done that because the report coming out of, I believe, Playlist is saying that it's a reworked, new revision of the script. That probably means he redid the third act. I'm so excited for this. I don't know why, but I have never felt this excited about an upcoming potential Quentin Tarantino movie before. Especially one that we don't really know much about and we haven't seen any trailers. I am pumped for this. So to me, this is great news. Schnepp?
I agree with you. When I read that news this morning, I was so happy to see that. He was able to take a step back. Now he's talking about releasing that 4-hour Django Unchained. He had all this time to they did that reading of Hateful Eight. He felt the audience response to it, and so I think he just got more secure in the fact that it's I can make this movie. I'll change a few things. I'm going to make it. Hopefully he made it longer and it's like a 6-hour Western. It's very exciting. I mean, because it's got the elements of the Seven Samurai. It's got just from hearing about it, I haven't read the script, but I am excited. I am very excited to see it because I love Westerns, especially really well done ones. So coming from Tarantino, I'm really happy to hear that.
Dennis?
I'm excited as well. And I think we all had hoped that he would do this, that eventually, as it got further along, he would eventually cool down and realize that, hey, the actions of some douchebag leaking his script shouldn't affect him. He's put a lot of hard work into it, and all the fans want to see it. And I think you're probably super excited because you really like Django. I really like Django.
I love Django.
So now he's doing something in a similar genre. Also, the title alone. I haven't read the script, and I don't even really know what it's about. But just the title alone, The Hateful Eight.
Doesn't it feel like he should at some point get Clint Eastwood to be in this?
Yes.
Doesn't it just feel?
It does feel that way.
Yeah, just because it's a takeoff of Magnificent Seven, which is a takeoff of Seven Samurai, and so I'm super excited for it.
And let's not forget, too, I think it was about a month ago, I think we saw that the gears were in motion, because about a month or so ago, Quentin Tarantino had this special event at, where was it? Was it at the LA Film School? Where he got a bunch of potential cast who are now rumored are actually going to be in the movie, including Samuel L. Jackson and Michael Marsden and a bunch of other people, to sit on a stage, just in chairs, and read the script in their parts to an audience, and everybody who came out of that just raved about it. So
it was also $700. It was out of my price range.
We tried to get tickets.
Yeah, it was
it's I ain't paying that.
No.
But I wish I could have been there. All right, what's next?
With Johnny Depp currently shooting his new film, Black Mass, reports have emerged suggesting Depp will also star in the upcoming film, The Secret Life of Houdini, being directed by Galaxy Quest Dean Parisot. Depp would play the title character of Harry Houdini, and The Secret Life of Houdini traces the arc of the master magician's life from desperate poverty to worldwide fame. His legacy later threatened by a group of fanatical spiritualists led by esteemed British author Sir Arthur Conan Doyle. Dennis, what do you make of the sounds of The Secret Life of Houdini?
Oh, I have mixed feelings on this. I mean, on one hand, you have Dean Parisot, if that's how you pronounce his name. He directed Galaxy Quest, which is one of my favorite comedies of all time. He's directed some TV shows that I really like Justified and Modern Family. And so I'm like, I trust him. And it's weird to say, but it's like Johnny Depp, like we're not sure. He hasn't really been killing it lately. Transcendence, Lone Ranger, Dark Shadows, like we're kind of worried about what he's going to do. And this character, Harry Houdini, is an interesting character, but it may come off really kooky. And we've seen a lot of kooky Johnny Depp lately that, you know, that's why I'm hoping that when Black Mass comes out, and we're all excited to see that he delivers something different, and then that way I can get more excited about this.
Yeah, it's funny because you and I are going to have a little bit opposite reactions on this. Because I remember for Black Mass, I'm like, I no longer give Johnny Depp, or a movie that Johnny Depp is in, just the automatic benefit of the doubt anymore. You listed off a number of films in a row that he's done that's been disappointing, and there have been more on top of that. But for some reason, I hear this, and I'm like, Black Mass, followed by something like this. This could be really cool. This could mark a change in direction. This could mark and herald for us that Johnny Depp has decided to alter the course of his career and to do these types of films, these based on true life, true story, real dramatic kind of stuff, getting back to his, what was the Johnny, that mobster movie he did with Al Pacino?
Brasco.
Donnie Brasco, thank you. Getting back to that sort of a thing. Whereas I wasn't just excited with Black Mass on its own, him following up with this makes me a little bit more excited for both films. So for me, this is actually pretty cool.
Yeah, I'm a big Magic fan. My uncle was a professional magician, part of the IBM.
I'm a big Magic the Gathering fan. I don't know, that's the same thing.
Totally different,
Totally
dude.
different, dude.
Totally different. So when I heard this news, I actually was really excited because I'd love to see a really cool adaptation about Houdini's life. And I think Johnny Depp is going to be a perfect Houdini. So, I mean, of all the stuff that he's been in, including Black Mass or anything future, this seems like, wow, I'm excited to see this regardless of all the other bad films he was in recently. I'm like, I'll go see that opening day.
It's just when you get an actor that we all know, like if this was some crappy actor, we wouldn't care. We just wouldn't care. But we know how good Johnny Depp can be. And so we're all just kind of like aching to see him, you know, really bring that brilliance out again. So I think that says something about him. All right, folks, we've reached that part of the show for buy or sell. In front of her, Chris Lee's got a few other items in the world of movie news. She's going to run them down, and then Schnepp, Dennis, and I are simply going to say whether we buy it or sell it. So Chris Lee, what do we got?
It has been confirmed that Robert De Niro has agreed to star alongside of Twilight's Robert Pattinson in the upcoming action heist thriller Idol's Eye. The film is set to start shooting this October in Toronto. Schnepp, buy or sell Robert De Niro agreeing to star in Idol's Eye?
I'm going to hesitantly buy it, you know?
How often do your answers start with the word,
Yeah. Well, because I love Robert De Niro, so I don't want to just sell it. I think he's a great actor. Has he been picking and choosing some great projects recently? Not so much. So I've been hit and miss. So yeah, for me, it's like adding him to any cast on any film is always a plus. I'm just not so sure about the film itself, so that's why I hesitantly buy it.
Dennis?
I tentatively sell it, and it's strange to say this because, you know, Robert De Niro is one of the greatest actors that we've ever seen. I'm more concerned about him than Robert Pattinson. I mean, I'm not a fan of Robert Pattinson or a hater of him, but he's been making more deliberate choices. You know, he did Water for Elephants, Cosmopolis. I'm actually really looking forward to
The Rover.
The Rover with
yeah.
Guy Pearce. It's a post-apocalyptic movie. It's
Looks
an Australian.
great.
Yeah, it's like a $12 million low indie budget film. But Robert De Niro hasn't been picking the best movies lately. I mean, he was great in Silver Linings Playbook, but he also
he did get an Oscar nomination for that, right?
Yeah, I think so. But he also did stuff like The Family, The Big Wedding, Grudge Match, Killing Season, you
Red
know?
Side or whatever. I'm a psychic. Red Side,
so
Near Side or whatever.
I'm going to tentatively sell it for now.
For me, it's close because on one hand, I buy it for the film. The film, you're right. You're adding Robert De Niro. That's great. For him, I'm selling it. Why are you going in a film where you're going to think? With Robert Pattinson, here's the thing. Robert Pattinson has been making some what I think brilliant, great career choices lately. With the types of projects he's been in, he's been really working diligently to separate himself from the, let's face it, the stigma of Twilight and what that was. He doesn't want to be forever tied to just that. So he's been making some really good choices. That being said, I have not been overwhelmed with his performances in anything that I've seen him in, even though he's been making some great choices. But you can grow and develop and all that kind of stuff. So for me, overall, balancing it all out, I'm going to very hesitantly sell this. All right, what's next?
Remember the 2002 hit, My Big Fat Greek Wedding? Well,
Yes.
according to The Hollywood Reporter, a sequel is now officially in the works. Nia Vardalos, who wrote and starred in the original, will return alongside star John Corbett for a story that catches up on Tula and Ian more than a decade into their marriage. Tom Hanks and Rita Wilson will once again produce. John, buy or sell A Big Fat Greek Wedding 2.
Big fat buy. I really buy this. I love this movie. I mean, to me, for somebody, if you're like me and you come from like a European background or whatever like that, and it didn't have to be Greek, because I'm Giovanni, I come from an Italian background, right? But seeing them play out the family dynamics on screen is like, holy crap, this is my family. It was really engaging. The story about how Tom Hanks and Rita Wilson got this movie made is crazy. They saw this script, and they took it around some places, and they kept saying no, no, no. And finally, they said, to hell with it. We're going to produce this then. $5 million they spent to produce My Big Fat Greek Wedding. $5 million. It ended up making $368 million worldwide. And get this. On its opening weekend, it made $3 million on its opening weekend. It is one of these rare films that we have not seen in Hollywood since. That it opened up, and nobody really thought much of it, but word got out. This movie's incredibly funny. So it gained, and you saw, and this never happens, week over week, this little movie climbing in the box office, and then it hung out, I don't have the actual stats in front of me, but it hung out in the top 10 of the box office for like 16 weeks. Or something like that, because it was just that good, and the word of mouth got out about it, blah, blah, blah. Now, then they did this little TV show, My Big Fat Greek Wedding, or My Big Fat Greek Life, they called it. And they tried a TV show, and it was just as good as the movie was, that's how equally terrible the TV show was. But I'm excited that they're going back to it. I'm excited that Tom Hanks and Rita Wilson are going to be producing it as well. I'm excited they're bringing the original cast back. So for me, this is an elongated and overly explained big buy. Dennis?
I'm gonna buy it as long as they keep the budget low, because under like 15 million, and don't go too big with it, because I think that while I think it will make money, I don't think they're gonna make as much money as the previous one. They're not gonna. I mean, that was lightning in the bottle. When
it really
came out, and you can't expect to repeat that success. And so hopefully, if they just keep it low, and then people who are fans of the first one will come out and see this one. But it is kind of far removed. When we talk about sequels, this has been a long period of time.
12 years so far.
And I don't think people are like clamoring for a sequel, but I still buy it.
Let me ask you this. What to you, for a film like this, considering what the first one made, would you consider to be a low budget? Like what would you aim for if you were budgeting this film?
15 million?
Yeah, I was thinking 15 to 20. Yeah. All right, what's next?
Speaking of The Hollywood Reporter.
No, wait a minute. I always, when I don't go to John Schnepp first, I inevitably completely skip over him. Schnepp, your thoughts on the Big Fat Greek Wedding thing?
Well, now I'm just going to sell it because you skipped me. No, you know what? If I was going to budget it, I would actually budget it at $8 million. Because what you said is true. Lightning in a bottle. The bottle's open. They tried the TV series. I think it's 12 years later. I think they're going to do a good job making like hey, this is look, the wedding, the party's over, now they got kids, there's all the stress, maybe the tension in the marriage, whatever they're gonna do, that's what my guess is. I'm sure it'll be funny. It just seems so weird to me, sometimes these sequel decisions, like 12 years later, the thing you've been clamoring, I don't know if you're clamoring for it, we're still making it, that's why to me it's like, yeah, I mean, the series went away. It just seems like a little, like such a weird afterthought to make a sequel to it. So, I mean, I'd be surprised if it's like a smash hit. I am hoping it's good, but I just sell the idea of taking something like this that doesn't need a sequel, that they tried to sequelize in TV and it didn't work. I don't know. That's why I'm selling it.
All right, now what's next?
All right, are you sure this time?
This time I'm sure.
All right. Speaking of The Hollywood Reporter, the trade magazine has published an article giving a few more details on the departure of Edgar Wright from the upcoming Marvel film Ant-Man. The article verifies earlier speculation about Marvel ordering a script rewrite without Edgar Wright's involvement, and it also confirms other reports about Wright falling a bit behind schedule and several department heads in the film leaving the project a few weeks ago due to those delays. Dennis, buy or sell this latest report on the Marvel Edgar Wright split?
I'll buy the report in terms of what happened. It sounds kind of similar to what people have been saying of the reasons, the creative differences. I do sell the fact that Edgar Wright is leaving because he's been working on this for years, and even Kevin Feige himself said that the reason that they were making this movie was because Edgar Wright's vision of it, and now they're kind of, now that he's leaving, they're going to get someone else to direct it. They're going to do rewrites. But at the same time, I know Marvel has their way of doing things. You know, there's the Marvel way. And they've been pretty successful in what they've been doing.
Pretty successful,
exactly.
yeah.
So maybe they don't want to veer from that.
Yeah, I think, you know, we talked about this in general a little bit yesterday, and all of this report coming out of the Hollywood Reporter does make sense. And, you know, we did mention it yesterday. He's been working on it for like 8 years. But the state Marvel is in now is a different state than it was in, you know, when they were developing this film, when they decided to greenlight it, when they decided to go ahead with it. And the Hollywood Report article mentions one thing that I think is really key for us to keep in mind as film fans. A lot of people are saying, well, look, just trust Edgar. Just trust Edgar. No, I get that. Nobody in this, you know, city right now is a bigger fan of Edgar Wright than me. But what the article points out is what people are forgetting to say is like, trust Kevin. Trust Marvel. I mean, remember, this is not the first time they've had drama with their directors or their actors. They are constantly butting heads with them. I mean, we had Kenneth Branagh not want to come back for Thor 2. We had, was it Joe Johnston, who directed the first Captain America, did not want to come back for the second one. They changed that. Obviously, we know a lot about the actor drama. We know all this kind of stuff. But you know what? Over and over and over again, what we sit back and see is Marvel knows what they're doing. And I think what I said yesterday still holds true today. I think Edgar, being Edgar, had a great idea for an Ant-Man movie that Marvel loved. But now that Marvel has a very defined tone and sense of their cinematic universe, for them to sit back and say, now this amazing thing that Edgar came up with doesn't fit. And they decided to move on. Edgar wanted to make the film that he wrote, understandably so and rightfully so. And so I'm going to buy this overall because I think it's going to be best for him, and I think it's going to be best for Marvel probably too.
Yeah, boy. I'm gonna buy it, but it's like it's
so heartbreaking.
It's heartbreaking because it's weird. Like, would I have wanted to see an Ant-Man movie now that he's not involved? Not as much as all these other Marvel properties. So I almost feel like, hey, if you're bailing on Edgar Wright's vision of Ant-Man, why even make Ant-Man? I mean, to me, it's like he's always been such a secondary character, unless he was integrally involved in the Avengers as part of Yellow Jacket and Ant-Man and Wasp and all that, you know, that it's just a weird decision. That to me, it's like just make Black Panther or the Inhumans or Moon Knight or any, you know, it's like I could list 400 characters that I'd kind of rather see than Ant-Man. I mean, even that cover there is from a really horrible comic from 2007, another iteration of Ant-Man, which didn't work. So there's like, they've tried rebooting Ant-Man in their own comics and it never works. It runs for like 12 issues, like, yeah, it's just not working. Canceled, do it again. So
it'll be interesting for us to come back, though, and see what our reactions to all this is and our general feeling on Ant-Man in general once they announce who the new director is.
Very
and that's probably going to do a lot to sway. I know for me personally, whether I go, don't care about Ant-Man, or, oh, my enthusiasm's reignited.
Well, you know, Thor the Dark World, they had a director, I'm forgetting her name right now, but she quit.
Yes.
And then they got Alan Taylor like a few weeks before they started shooting. It was relatively quick. So, you know, it's because Edgar Wright has he's a powerful director and a well-known director that it created all these waves. Because all these other directors sometimes like, I'm not returning. It didn't create waves. Like, it wasn't like, Joe Johnston's not coming back for Captain America. It's like, well, and then these comedy guys from Community, it wasn't even like, I think they could probably do a good job. It wasn't a big ripple. This is a big ripple. I think it's because he's been attached for 8 years.
Yeah.
So.
All right, folks, we reached that part of the show for Mailbag. Here's how this works. You guys have a topic or a question you want us to discuss on the show, you just email it to us anytime at amcmovietalk@gmail.com. Every day we take a couple of questions from the mailbag. We do our mailbag show on the weekends as well. I'm going to let you know, for those of you who are watching us live, we're going to save a couple of minutes at the end of the show to take some of your live questions. So start tweeting those in to @AMC Movie News, and Chris Lee will pick out a couple questions for the end. But for now, let's get to the mailbag. Chris Lee, what's in there?
Austin Patrick writes, "Hey guys, love the show. I started watching about 2 months ago and got hooked ever since. I'm a horror movie geek, mostly with old films like Halloween." Austin, you and I can no longer be friends. "I wanted to know what's your favorite horror film. Thanks, and bring on the filthy."
I have two, when I'm discussing my favorite horror films of all time, I have two I like to mention. One has been my favorite since childhood, and then one is my favorite of the past 10 years. My favorite one since childhood is the original American Werewolf in London. That movie, like there was like some serious fertilization of my underwear as a kid watching that film.
Yeah.
And then I remember about like 8 years ago, I watched it again thinking, oh, well, that as a kid, it scared me. I'll watch it again. No way. I had to keep the lights on. It just, for whatever reason, that movie scares the hell out of me. And then the other one for me of the last 10 years that I really, really love, and I know some people don't, but is The Descent. The Descent to me is just such a wonderfully directed, because that movie scared the hell out of me before the monsters ever showed up.
Everyone like shimbling through those little caves and like, get out of the cave, you know?
The claustrophobia alone, I was freaking out. And then the monsters show up. It's like, like it was just like, forget it, I'm done.
It's just not fair.
No,
you're like, you're in a tiny weird hole and then a weird naked creature's chasing you. Come on.
Yeah, just so those are my two: American Werewolf in London and The Descent. What about you guys when you think of your favorite? I'm especially interested in hearing your answer, because I know you're not a big horror guy.
No, I'm not a huge horror fan, so take what I say with a grain of salt. I prefer more the psychological thriller types versus kind of the gore fest. So I have two. One is Kubrick's The Shining. You know, and everyone knows what a classic that one is. And then another one I think less people have seen, obviously, is Brad Anderson's Session 9, which actually has a Shining feel to it. It's about this condemned mental institution. A group of workers go in there to go remove asbestos, and there's kind of like this creepy thing. They find these tapes of like these old sessions and stuff. It's just really, really creepy. So I like those type of horror.
I believe they're remaking that, as a matter of fact.
Are they?
I believe they are remaking that. Anyway, Schnepp, what about you?
I'll say, I got a couple. I'm wearing my favorite. It's Videodrome, the shirt. James Woods. It's David Cronenberg. Canadian filmmaker.
Yep, there we go.
Shot in Canada, but it's one of my favorite horror films of all time. Psychological, Long Live the New Flesh. I would go back and say The Thing and A Nightmare on Elm Street. Like when I saw A Nightmare on Elm Street when I was a little kid, it scared me. Yeah, I didn't soil myself, but it was very frightening because the idea of a guy who can get inside your dreams. And The Thing just holds up. John Carpenter's The Thing is truly a very horrifying idea about, like, you know, cellular destruction by alien, you know, insemination. It's horrible. So.
All right, what's next?
Harry Green writes, "Hey AMC crew, do you think that this last X-Men Days of Future Past was better than Avengers?"
You know what, that, more than any other question since I first saw X-Men Days of Future Past, that's the question everybody's been asking me. And it's funny because it's not the question that I really came out wondering. The first question I came out wondering, there were two questions I had. What is my favorite comic book movie of this year? Because everybody knows how much I had completely adored Captain America 2. So that question was, do I prefer this or Captain America 2? And very painfully, for myself, I came to the conclusion that for me, X-Men Days of Future Past is even better than Captain America 2. Not that to besmirch Captain America 2 at all, because that movie's brilliant. Yeah. But then the next question for me was, okay, is this the best X-Men film of all time? Because X-Men 2, to me, X-Men 2 has to be in the conversation of best comic book movie of all time, at least in your top 5, if you're talking about them, right? And then I came to the conclusion, yes, this is the best X-Men, for me. This is the best X-Men film of all time. So then I started wrestling with the question, is this the greatest comic book movie of all time? I.e., is this better than the Avengers? And I was going back and forth, and then the other night, I went to bed really early one night just because I was kind of tired. I popped on Netflix, I'm like, oh yeah, Avengers is there. I'm going to watch Avengers again. I'm going to stick with Avengers. Like, you watch that again, and Avengers is the perfect comic book movie. It's just on that level, you know? So while it is so impressive that for me, I'm even putting X-Men Days of Future Past in the same conversation with Avengers, after watching Avengers again, it was like, Yeah, to me, this is still the standard. For me, it's still the standard. But I would instantly, X-Men Days of Future Past for me gets in the top 5. But anyway, Dennis, what about you? Where would you rank it?
For me, X-Men Days of Future Past easily is the best X-Men film. In comparison to Captain America 2, while I really did like Captain America 2, immediately when the movie was done, I already liked X-Men Days of Future Past more than Captain America 2. In terms of Avengers, it's close, but I'm not sure yet. I'm gonna have to take a year and see, like, watch X-Men Days of Future Past a couple more times, watch it in a year's time to see how it holds up, and then I can really decide. With Avengers, it does do some things better than Avengers. It has a better story than Avengers, for sure.
Yeah, it does.
And you care about the characters more, but then Avengers is a more fun movie. So, like, I have to wait and see, but for me, it's pretty close. It's up. X-Men Days of Future Past is in my top, at least in my top 5 comic book movies of all time.
Schnepp?
Yeah, I agree. Top 5 comic book movies of all time. Right after I saw it, and I had really had lowered expectations, even though everyone was saying how great it was. I was like, all right, we'll see. All right, bring it, Singer. And he smashed my head against the wall. It exploded. It was brought. Yeah, it's the best X-Men movie ever made. Easily, after I saw it, I was like, yes. Did it beat Captain America? Is it the best movie of the year, superhero-wise? I thought about it. I was like, even though I saw Cap 2 twice so far, and I've only seen X-Men once, only because I've been busy, I really do want to see it several more times in the theater. I think it beats Cap 2 for me, just emotionally. I think it was so much fun to see all these characters brought back together, and I think that's why this movie has such a winning combination. It's taking all these characters from the first couple X-Men plus First Class and intertwining them and then, like, getting rid of all the garbage trash, or at least trying to, like, that.
The continuity problems.
Yeah, the continuity problems that none of us like.
Here's the question for both of you: If Guardians of the Galaxy comes out, and it's and not, one of the top 10 comic book movies of all time, but if Guardians of the Galaxy comes out and consensus says, hey, that was a good movie, can we say this is the best year for comic book films ever?
Yeah. If Guardians of the Galaxy is just good, not great.
But good. Everybody's going to say this was good.
Yeah, because you got X-Men. Well, I mean,
there's Spider-Man 2, I know.
Personally, my Spider-Man.
But with X-Men, Captain America 2, which are both insanely good. And then if we got this one comes out and it's at least consensus-wise is, hey, this is a good one, like not up here but good. I got a feeling we got to call this the best year for comic book movies ever.
With 3 movies?
Yeah, with those 3 of the at least the quality of those 2 at the top. It's just crazy. Dennis, what do you think?
Possibly. I'm gonna have to go back and see what else came out when The Dark Knight came out. Any other comic book movies?
Dark Knight just crushed everything, though.
Yeah.
I mean, it so overshadowed everything when it came out, though.
I'd have to look back and see that, because maybe if that year had another at least pretty good comic book movie, then maybe that year. But off the top of my head, I can't think of a better year. Yeah.
All right. Yeah. Well, folks, we said we would leave some time to take your questions from the Twitter stream, and that's what we're going to do right now. Chrisley is our gatekeeper. She's the one you got to suck up to get your question on air. So, Chrisley, what are people asking on Twitter?
Jack Gavin wants to know if there's any chance that Paul Rudd would also be dropping out of Ant-Man.
No, they asked a Hollywood Reporter specifically asked his reps, and his rep said, no, Paul's still on board. Do you guys hear anything different?
No, but I think they all signed their contracts, so even if they wanted to, they can't get out of it.
Yeah.
I don't think he would want to. I mean, he's leading a superhero.
He's leading a Marvel property. Right. Yeah, he doesn't want to go anywhere.
Nathan Elliott wants to know if we think we'll see Magneto's other child, Polaris, in the X-Men films.
I don't think so. It is really interesting that Magneto, that Michael Fassbender did confirm that in the movie, Quicksilver is his son. So that's pretty cool, even though they don't really go into that in the film. But he said that publicly, so it's not a spoiler. It's something he said at the press junket, totally open and public information. But I don't think they will, personally. Do you think they will?
I thought the little kid was Scarlet Witch, but people have been telling me that that little girl that was with Quicksilver at the end was Polaris.
Was actually
so
Polaris,
maybe.
Wow. Yeah, I would be surprised. But if we're going into the 80s in the third movie, why not? That would be great.
Who knows? Okay, what's next?
Jonathan Barboza wants to know, when movies have delayed openings from foreign to domestic, like Snowpiercer, have you ever heard of it being for reshoots?
That's a good question. I mean, no, I'm going to say yes, I have heard of that happening before where, like, especially with the Weinstein Company. The Weinsteins are not afraid to take a movie, a foreign film, and bring it to the U.S., but then they think, okay, we think this will work in the U.S. market if we make these changes. So I know the Weinsteins have done it. I'm pretty sure I think Lionsgate has done it too at some point, but specific titles are eluding me right now off the top of my head. If you guys know of any specific films that have done stuff like that?
Not foreign films?
Yeah, that's been brought over to a North American market and then had changes done before it was released.
Not specifically, and not so much reshoots, but re-edits.
Yeah, that happens quite a bit.
Yeah, re-edits, and I've been hearing a lot of good stuff about Snowpiercer.
Yeah, me too.
And also, they're releasing the uncut version of Snowpiercer here. So all those delays and everything, where the Weinsteins were going to cut it, then they finally were like, all right, we're not going to cut it. We're just going to release it as is.
I hadn't heard that.
Yeah, so we're going to get the actual real version, which is exciting.
Interesting. All right, what's next?
Dead James wants to know, do you think that if they don't use Deadpool again soon, it will be harder to do a standalone film for loss of interest?
No. Absence makes the heart grow fonder. I don't think... Like, we've gone how long without a Deadpool movie?
Right.
I don't think waiting 5 more years is going to make people lose interest. And once again, don't forget this. We travel in the 1% circle of sweaty comic book nerds where it means something to us, right? My cousins don't know who the hell Deadpool is, and they don't care, and they represent the 99%. So maybe, you know, that fever pitch of a Deadpool movie amongst us 1%ers might come down a bit the longer we wait. For the general audience, it's not going to matter, because when they get introduced to a Deadpool movie, it's going to be their first exposure to a Deadpool, so it's really not going to have any impact. Do you guys see it any other way?
I hope they kind of reintroduce him, maybe a cameo in something like the next XMen movie or something like that.
Well, they're talking about an X-Force movie, which would be
yeah,
perfect to introduce
like
him.
That way it can catapult him into his own standalone.
Yeah, Schnapp?
Yeah, I agree. It's like, I think Deadpool has a great run going on by Jerry Duggan and Brian Posehn right now, but that's that 1%, the sweaty nerds. None of us are outside of that. So we can talk about Deadpool and comics, but then we're in like this weird tiny crystal bubble, and then there's the rest of everybody who all they know about Deadpool is, yeah, wasn't Ryan Reynolds Deadpool? I didn't like that when he had his mouth sewed shut. It was stupid.
Yeah.
So they don't know anything about the comic book character.
Yeah, I mean, I could say to you guys right now, I could say to you, look at you and say, let's talk about Cable. And when they introduce Cable, how do you think they'll use the techno-organic virus in that sort of storyline? And we'll all go, well, let's think about that. 99% of the planet will go, what the hell are you talking
What,
about?
you mean my cable from a VCR? What are you talking about? Yeah.
All right, let's do one more question and we'll end it up today.
Caleb Danger says, hey, is the Academy ready to nominate genre actors like Serkis and Dawn of Apes or McAvoy in X-Men Days of Future Past this year?
Well, I mean, the Academy has already nominated and awarded genre actors. I mean, we saw it with Heath Ledger. I mean, so I think the Academy's already there. McAvoy's performance in this movie was incredible. But I got to tell you, I've seen a couple of other really incredible performances this year in films that aren't going to cross the $100 million mark. And we still got a lot of the year to go. Okay. So don't jump up and down in a fiery rage. If McAvoy doesn't get nominated for Best Actor or Best Supporting Actor, it would probably be Best Lead Actor, because you got to take into consideration who did get nominated and were they deserving? And 99% of the time, they do. What do you guys think?
I don't think he's going to get nominated. Not because he doesn't deserve it, just even though they have nominated and awarded to genres in the past, genre movies in the past, it is kind of like you have to be even higher than like a regular drama.
Sure. Yeah, plus McAvoy is not the lead in X-Men. If anything, it would be a supporting role.
Maybe.
But and Serkis, they don't have an area yet for, you know,
performance capture,
capture, or digital makeup, or anything. And you know, and if you're going to nominate him, you're going to have to nominate like the 30 dudes who animated him as well.
Yeah, well, I disagree with you on that, but we've had that debate before. Yeah. But I mean, it's hard to even talk about Serkis because we haven't seen Planet of the Apes yet, or Dawn of the Planet of the Apes yet. So I mean, we have no idea if it's really a special performance or not. So why speculate
but
too
going
much?
From the just Rise of the Planet of the Apes, where he did that.
He was sick good. That was so good. Okay, folks, we've run out of time. Thank you so much for joining us. Listen, don't forget, lots of great films playing in AMC theaters every right now. Head on over to www.amctheaters.com for all of your theater, showtime, and movie ticket information. If you haven't done so already, make sure you click subscribe, become a subscriber to our AMC Movie News YouTube channel, and click the thumbs up button as well to let us know that you like the videos. And also, if you want an audio-only version of this show or many of our other shows as well, look in the description of this video and you'll find a link to subscribe to our podcast feed so you can, listen to us on your way to work. I want to thank the people sitting at the table with me. First of all, Mr. Dennis Zen. Dennis, where can people find you online?
You guys can find me on Twitter @ThinkHero and on YouTube ThinkHeroPro.
Sitting right beside him, going to be in Sacramento at the Sacramento Comic Con coming up this coming weekend, Mr. John Schnepp. Schnepp, where can people find you online?
You find me at Twitter and Instagram at John Schnepp, and that's June 1st, Sunday. If you're in Sacramento, come down to SacCon.
SacCon.
That's what it's called.
And our lovely gatekeeper today, Miss Chrisley Kennedy. Chrisley, where can people find you online?
You guys can find me on Twitter and Facebook and Instagram at Chrisley, and make sure you follow tonight because Dennis and I will be covering the Maleficent red carpet in Hollywood, so check out for some pictures.
Yeah. I will be going to the Maleficent party and actually going into the screening myself.
Maleficent.
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 And you guys can find me on the various social media channels just at John Campea. Thanks a lot for joining us, guys. My name is John Campea for AMC Movie News, and until next time, bye-bye.
Hey everyone, if you liked this video, click that thumbs up button and make sure to subscribe to our AMC Movie News YouTube channel. It's free and helps you stay up to date with all the latest movie news, as well as our daily AMC Movie Talk show. Also, make sure that you follow us on Facebook and Twitter to stay up to date with all of our special promotions, contests, and prize giveaways.